Ladies and gentlemen, you are looking live at week one, episode one of a brand new college football show. This is the Tailgate Committee. I'm your host, Andy Hopper, joined by two ravenous, incredible, diehard college football fans representing Notre Dame all the way from the good state of New York. Ladies and gentlemen, a good friend of mine back I shouldn't say back. We're back together, Tom, on a very new iteration, a brand new show. Tom Scavetta, ladies and gentlemen. Tom, how are you feeling, my friend?
What is up, Mr. Andy Hopper, my closest friend from the Midwest? I gotta say, it's great to be back with you. We've done this together for a bunch of years now, doing this on a brand new platform with Noah Doug Deidler. Yeah, man, basically what you got to know about me, I love Notre Dame football. I'm in Florida right now, even though I am a New Yorker. I'll be back up in New York next week. I love the New York Giants. I love Notre Dame. And I love tight ends. I love tight ends. I'll be talking about them quite a bit on this show. I'll bring up some bad puns. I'm pretty much 50-year-old guy trapped inside a 30-year-old man's body. So that's kind of what I describe myself as.
Tom is our resident old head on the podcast. We are the same age, but yes, I think spiritually he is right. He is a old man yells at cloud, just stuck in there. Joining us, a new face to the show, representing the Georgia Bulldogs, the SEC, our good old boy from the South, Noah Deibler. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, guys. I'm glad to be here. I'm a little nervous because I haven't podcasted in like 5 months at this point. But we mentioned doing this a few months ago. It was just kind of felt like I guess one of those throwaway ideas at the time. But no, it's actually here, and I'm really excited to get into it. I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and obviously, go Dogs.
Go Dogs. So he's our
Go
resident
Dogs.
Georgia guy. So we have a Big Ten man here and myself. I'm coming to you from Illinois. I'm, as you can tell from behind me, repping the orange and blue for the Illini. We have Tom, who is an Irish fanatic. And then we have our big dog down there. Noah is a Georgia Bulldog. So we have three different fan perspectives, three different teams, three different conferences, three different, locations around the country, right? So obviously up here, I'm in Big Ten country. Noah's down in the South in the SEC, where it just means more. All right, Tom, you're in Florida, but act from New York, so the Northeast maybe not as well known for its college football prowess. And hilarious that you are rooting for Notre Dame all the way over there. But I love it. You're a diehard. You're not one of these just bandwagon like, oh, I grew up Catholic and I don't have a college football team, so I'm a Notre Dame fan. You can tell anybody the ins and outs of what's going on in that program on a day-to-day basis. Noah can do the same for Georgia. I'd like to think I can do that for Illinois. A lot of times I'm just talking out of my ass and pretending like I know what I'm saying. But this is the Tailgate Committee, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be coming at you weekly with, talking college football, whether it's storylines, what's going on during the week, what we think is going to happen during the games. Then you can come back the next week and laugh at me on how fucking wrong I'm going to be probably most of the time. But it's back, man. It's the best time of the year. Noah, I love that you said your first podcast in like 5 months. Probably something similar here. And then we're jumping back into the reins of me, being the number one host. I liked our, just being able to show up and kind of talk and leave. That was always nice when you did those kind of shows. But boys, let's jump right into it. I think we had some awesome week 0 games last week. Obviously starting with Farmageddon. Anytime you can play one of the oldest rivalries in college football, 4,000 miles away from their original location over in Ireland, you just got to do it. In the pouring rain, we saw Iowa State and Kansas State, Hawaii over Stanford in an absolute thriller. I kind of want to talk about that game in a little bit, but Tom, I want to start with you. What stood out to you from week 0? How excited were you that college football was back? Did you get that tingly feeling, where the goosebumps there? Bring me into what we're thinking here.
I did. I mean, I'll be honest. I've been on vacation down here in the Sunshine State, but I did catch a glimpse of that Iowa State K-State game out in Dublin, and it wasn't the Cyclones that stole the day. It was the losing quarterback's family, Avery Johnson's father and older brother, getting into a brawl after that 24-21 loss. The two had to acknowledge the incident and make a statement on Sunday morning where they both apologized for their actions. I guess somebody got a little bit too rowdy at the tailgate post game, and things went sideways. One thing led to another, and hey, that's what'll happen. But I think Avery Johnson actually outplayed Rocco Becht, the quarterback for Iowa State. I thought Johnson was good. 3 total touchdowns. Rocco Becht was good too, but the Cyclones, they just had better time of possession, fewer penalties. It's college football 101, and that's a recipe for success to winning football games. And that is a huge win for a Big 12 team in Iowa State, a team that's looking to get back on their footing this season.
Right. I love that you brought up the post-game fight because obviously they were not very happy. That's like par for the course for an Ireland trip, is getting drunk and fighting, getting in a fight, right? In Dublin. But, if you look at Avery Johnson's stat line, you see, yeah, those numbers jump out. I think it was like 230 yards in the air, a few touchdowns. But is anybody else like just not that impressed with this kid? Because I don't know if I see it. Like, K-State gave up on Will Howard last year for Avery Johnson. Will Howard goes to Ohio State and wins a national championship. Now, was he going to bring a national championship to K-State? I don't know if I'd go that far, but I'm not 100% sold on this Johnson kid, but absolutely hilarious that his dad and brother getting into a fight to the point where, of course, it's on video in this day and age. Of course, they have to make a statement. It's exactly what Johnson wanted, right? Whether or not he played well or not, to lose the game, fly 4,000 miles, and have to worry about his dad and his brother getting in a fight after the game was over. But also, it was pouring rain for like the majority of that. It was coming down. Like I said to Kaylin, my fiance, can you imagine flying 4,000 miles to watch your like team play their most bitter rival just to get fucking poured on? Like, imagine the bags dropped on these trips from some of these fans. And I guess there was an overhang, so a lot of the fans were covered up, but those players were just getting drenched. Can't imagine. That had to be still the trip of a lifetime, but the rain had to damper it a little bit. Noah, what did you think about week 0? Anything stick out to you? Did you have more time than Tom did to sit down and watch some ball?
I didn't really watch a lot, but I did keep up with them. And first of all, about this game, a couple things I want to talk about. Like you guys said, this was a sloppy game. I mean, 4 turnovers in the first half. You mentioned, 4,000 mile, probably some jet lag there. The rain as well. And plus, first game of the season, it's always kind of like that. That's usually where you're still kind of iron stuff out. You've been out of practice for 7-8 months. It takes some time to get back into game condition. For K-State specifically, like you said, Avery Johnson had a pretty stat line, but they made a lot of mistakes at big moments. They were 1 for 4 on 4th down, 6 penalties, whereas Iowa State only had 1. I mean, just big mistakes like that will actually shoot yourself in the foot, especially for how close this game was. I mean, they
Right.
scored a touchdown with about 6 minutes left to make it 24-21, and they just couldn't get the ball back. They couldn't get a stop. Iowa State was able to run out the clock. And funny enough, usually I wouldn't credit a team for doing this when they only have 2.8 yards per carry, but 46 rush attempts for Iowa State. Props to them for not abandoning the run game at
No,
all.
dude. Just
But
pound the rock,
yep,
man.
and that's what, especially in a rain game like that, you need something like that. But another thing for Kansas State that I want to note that is unfortunately very sad, Dylan Edwards getting injured, man. He had over 7 yards per carry last season, absolute stud pretty much. Left this game, did not return. Haven't looked up
First
any
play.
updates since on that one, but yeah, they need him back soon because he's an absolute playmaker. As for other games, I know we're going to talk about the Hawaii one. So another one I want to touch on real quick was Kansas, 31-7 over Fresno State. I mean, this was a very impressive game. First of all, it basically needed to be because it was their first game in this new $450 million rebuilt stadium that they have. I mean, you got to put on a show after spending that much money, and they did it. Jalen Daniels, Jalen Daniels, 6th-year senior, 18 and 23, three touchdowns, 223 total yards. He had a nice game and some transfers as well, making an impact for them. Cam Pickett, Ball State transfer wide receiver, had 2 touchdowns, and then LaShawn Pickett, who they got in from Iowa, 19-yard rush touchdown and 57 rush yards. They absolutely dominated in the trenches. They had 10 tackles for loss, and Fresno State only had 37 yards and 29 rush attempts. Only major negative was Kansas had 9 penalties, so hopefully they can iron that out when they play some better competition in the future. But yeah, they did a great job. Basically, for poor Fresno State fans, past the first drive, you could basically turn this game off because they did absolutely nothing else. I mean, if you compare the stats for their quarterback, E.J. Warner, he was on the first drive 5 for 5 for 81 yards. The rest of the game, 13 to 24 for 98. So that's not going to get it done. But props to Kansas. That was a dominant showing, and it wasn't what I was expecting. I actually thought that'd be a really close game. But no, they absolutely steamrolled those guys.
Yeah, shout out EJ Warner, son of Kurt Warner, is Fresno State's starting quarterback this year. But yeah, I had that game on. I remember watching the first drive, like, okay, like Fresno, they don't look too bad. And then they just couldn't do a damn thing. I saw some pretty funny memes of that Kansas Stadium, though, because they spent, like you said, like $400 million, but they just left like one side's like untouched. So it's like one side is all brand new and nice, and the other one is just still the same shitty, just straight up like that, which was funny. But I mean, great game for Kansas and the Jayhawks to get off on the right foot. Illinois transfer Alex Bray was wreaking some havoc on the D-line for the Jayhawks, so I'll still root for him a little bit. What I wanted to talk about was the Hawaii game because it was awesome. It wasn't a classic 10:30 midnight start for us here on the mainland. It was a 7:30 start. Hawaii and Stanford, and it went down to the wire. Hawaii was led by their redshirt freshman quarterback, native Hawaiian, Micah Alejado, was playing on basically one foot for the majority of this game, fellas. He was hobbling around out there, still completed 27 passes for 210 yards and 2 scores, led them on a game-winning drive and set up a game-winning field goal kicked by Hawaii kicker Kansei Matsuzawa, a Japanese national, born in Japan, taught himself how to kick footballs on YouTube because nobody in Japan knew how to do it. Nobody would help him. He fucking talked his way on to a community college football roster in Ohio, balled out there, learned football, learned English. Now he's playing for Hawaii. He's on full scholarship and hits a game-winning walk-off field goal, 23-20. That is why we love college football, fellas, for stories like that. This kid is 20 years old. He's in Japan. That's the reach of this now. College, it is not just an American game. It is global and one of my favorite stories of the year. Also, if you're gonna pick anywhere to go, Hawaii. Is it just the biggest sleeping giant ever? If they could just get people to campus, oh, you want me to come play football and live in Hawaii for 4 years? Yeah, where do I sign? Come on. That would be the biggest, if I was a grad transfer and I just wanted to just go somewhere to fuck off for my last year, I will be going to Honolulu or Maui or wherever the hell it is at. But that was our last game of week 0. Some really, really fun week 0 action. And quickly, Noah, you brought up another thing. Dylan Edwards, that was literally, he got injured on the kickoff. He didn't even get to play at all. Really, really big kick in the dick if you are a Wildcats fan, and definitely affected the outcome of that game. Let's move on. We have a couple fun segments here, a couple off-season storylines that I want to get to. Some things that I think really dominated the talking points of this offseason. But before we do that, I want to give a quick shout out to our social media. So please, 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 we're obviously a brand new show, so we're trying to build everything up. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the Tailgate Committee, and then we're on Twitter at the Tailgate Com. So the Tailgate COMM, and then please, please, please like and subscribe. Like this video, subscribe on YouTube. We will be back every week with college football content at the Tailgate Committee on YouTube. So a couple storylines here, offseason storylines. Obviously, we're in year 2 of the college football playoff at 12 teams, right? I think last year was a success. There was a couple games that you can point to and say, hey, these weren't close, da-da-da-da-da. But I think for the most part, we saw a pretty entertaining playoff, fellas. I don't know if you would agree. So 12 teams, obviously. Here's where shit starts to get a little bit crazy. The Big Ten, my beloved Big Ten, floating idea for 24 to 28 team college football playoff. Ideas in the very early stages, eliminates conference title games, and offers a large number of auto bids for all 4 power leagues. For example, in the 28-team model, the Big Ten and SEC would each get 7 auto bids, while the ACC and Big 12 would each receive 5. There would be 2 auto bids for the non-power 4 conferences and 2 at-large teams. The 28-team playoff format would put 20 playoff games on campus, which would accentuate the success from last year's CFP. The CFP committee would seed the field and pick the at-large teams. Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti ran the idea by his conference Wednesday, sources said, and it's begun being shared by others. This is way too many fucking teams. 7 teams from the Big Ten and the SEC? There aren't 7 teams in the country that I think that really realistically can win the championship. No, I want to start with you on this. Please tell me how batshit fucking crazy this is.
Yeah, well, like you mentioned earlier, Andy, I'm an SEC guy, so
Yeah.
if anyone would support this idea, it would be an SEC or a Big Ten fan because, like you said, they get 7 auto bids. But I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat it. I think this is an absolutely abysmal, atrocious idea because, first of all, we got to go back a few years ago when they thought about expanding in the first place. I agreed that 4 was too many because it basically meant if you weren't in a Power 5 or if you were Power 5 and you lost like 1 game by 3, your season was probably over. You basically needed to either go undefeated or if you lost a game, you needed to look amazing the rest of your games, win your conference championship, and hope other teams lost. So I agreed with them expanding back then. I wasn't the biggest fan of them expanding them to 12. In my opinion, I thought 8 was the perfect medium because, like you said, is there really 12 teams that have a genuine shot at winning a title? I don't think so. I think you're going to see every year there'll be probably around a handful of teams that, are just kind of happy to be there and, they get beaten convincingly in the first round and they go home. And if they're fine with that, that's not a major deal. But I thought 8 was the happy medium, but 24. And I mean, I just think it's way too many. I think they're trying to do like their own version of March Madness, but that doesn't really
Pretty
work for
much, yeah.
college football because the chances of an upset against a number 1 or number 2 ranked team for a team that's way down. I mean, you always go back to App State, Michigan, right? But that was 18 years ago, and that was a once in a lifetime thing. That's why it's remembered so much. It's not like college football where you feel like every 2 to 3 years or so one of these top seeds would go down. You don't expect it. It doesn't really work like that. The gaps are much bigger in my opinion in college football. And another thing, the main reason a lot of people wanted expansion was because they thought the 14 playoff was unfair to Group 5 teams. You basically had no shot unless you went undefeated like Cincy did. And even then, they were the number 4 seed, but UCF didn't make it at all. And you know what's really unfair to Group 5 teams? When you make 24 of the 28 potential spots reserved entirely for Power 5 schools. I mean, that is just absolutely ridiculous. 7 for the SEC and Big Ten, 5 for the other 2 Power 5 conferences. You only got 4 spots left.
And we're
How is that so? Yeah, I mean, how is that supposed to be fair to anybody there? I think it's just, and I understand why they're doing it. It's a total money move. That's all it's about. They want to get all, like you said, all these, you know, on campus, bowl games, get another week of bowl games in there. But how are they going to do this scheduling wise? Are you going to push? Are you just going to add another week this season? Are you going to remove conference championships to keep it the same length? What are you doing here? I just think it's totally unnecessary. In my opinion, while the 12 team isn't perfect, I think it's fine. I don't think it needs to be expanded more. I think this is a horrible idea. I hope they don't do it. I think they might do it though, because if the 2 most powerful conferences support it, I don't really think it matters if everyone else opposes it. I think that'll be enough to get it through. So it's one of those things. I hope it doesn't happen, but realistically, I think it's a pretty good shot it will.
Look, you said it. You're an SEC guy. I'm a Big Ten guy. Realistically, we're like, 7 Big Ten teams? Yeah. All we have to do is make the top 7 of our conference. We have a chance to fucking win a championship. Sign me up. I mean, yeah, but it's what we don't need to do is let corporations take over college football as if they haven't already, but it has become more about the money and the revenue than it is the product on the field, right? Like and again, my team is literally preseason ranked number 12. Like we're being talked about as a team that has a really good shot to make the playoff this year. And, Brett Bielema actually came out in support of this, I believe, which if you're a head coach in the Big Ten of the SEC, you're like, yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, to me, this is also like when, how they float around, which they always do this, they float around the idea of college basketball, the March Madness expansion. It's 64 was the perfect amount. 68, fine. Give me the first 4. We don't need anything more than that. We don't. We really don't. I think they've got a good format here with 12. You get the campus games. You get the big game feel and neutral sites. And, I mean, we saw some teams make some magical runs. So, Tom, please share with me your thoughts. 24, 28 teams. Crazy, valid. Do you think it's going to happen? Noah says he thinks this actually has a shot of going down.
I do not think it's going to happen because this is so new and it took forever to get to this point. I think it's all talk and no gas right now. Before it really develops wheels, it's hard for me to wrap my head around and say, yeah, that's definitely happening. But the idea of it, like you said, makes sense because if you're in the SEC or the Big Ten, you're beating each other up. And then you see like an SMU get in or even an Army also get in. If you're in the middle of the SEC, you're more than likely going to beat both of those teams if you meet up with them. So with that being said, then sure, this format could make sense, but in only that method. Other than that, I think it's a terrible idea. Keep it at 12 teams. Don't add any more. I get what the SEC's doing. They're trying to do that 9-game conference schedule in 2026. They want, continuing the single standings is great. I think more conferences should do it. I get why the Big Ten has divisions. But the non-divisional structure makes a lot of sense. Keep those traditional rivalries alive. Making sure everybody plays each other at least once every 2 years. With this new playoff, that kind of just it kind of puts it out of perspective of the average fan's mind. Like they can't really wrap their head around what am I watching here, right? You want to draw them in. You're going to lose them. Well, yeah, like sure, the 3 of us will watch, but is my dad going to watch? No. It's going to be too long, and it's not going to be interesting. Those first few rounds, you don't even have to watch because you know who's probably going to make it. Just fast forward to the top 12, like you said, and it makes perfect sense the way it is now. It's far from perfect, but I think it makes the most sense.
I think that's a great way to put it. And am I sitting here saying, oh, I have the solution, that I've got a perfect idea? No. And I think Noah brought up some good points like, man, what's the biggest thing with March Madness is these Cinderellas, these upsets, and the parity has gotten a lot closer.
It is better.
The gap has closed with the NIL era, especially now with the revenue sharing. I mean, the Big Ten just signed that big media rights deal. I think each team's getting like $20 million or some shit like that. Like there's some money being thrown around here. So maybe these teams, like you're going to see some upsets here and there, but especially with the way people are now with, gambling and all that stuff, people love an underdog. It's not going to happen as often as people want. And, people, they want that instant satisfaction. They want that drama, especially with sports. So anytime it's not a back and forth, a close game, you're always going to be like, oh, well, actually that wasn't very good. You're going to get those fucking goobers. But yeah, a lot of really interesting stuff here. I just want it to be, it's got to still be college football. I know we're getting to a point where it's basically semi-pro and, we're going to get to an era where these schools are paying the kids directly. We're not going to need these NIL funds and all that shit anymore, but times are a-changing, ladies and gentlemen. But Tom, you brought this up, a great transition. This is something that's been in, contention by a lot of people, in the college football media, college football fans. and that is the conference schedule for the SEC teams. And I think Noah, I mean, you can speak to it better than any of us. Obviously, they're playing 8 conference games now. They have for a very long time. A lot of these other power conferences are playing 9. So there has been a little bit of a discrepancy when it comes to, well, how are we properly evaluating these teams when it comes to the playoff and who should really get in? If, this team has played 9 conference games, whereas opposed to this one, 8, and they're scheduling cupcakes and da-da-da-da-da. So apparently the SEC listens. So bullying works, guys. I guess that's what we should take from this.
Yes.
Starting in 2026, the SEC will now play 9 conference games. Adding a 9th SEC game underscores our university's commitment to delivering the most competitive football schedule in the nation, said SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey. This is from SECsports.com. This format protects rivalries, increases competitive balance, and paired with our requirement to play an additional power opponent, ensures SEC teams are well prepared to compete and succeed in the college football playoff. Under the new format, the SEC will continue with single standings, non-divisional structure, like Tom said. Each school will play 3 annual opponents focused on maintaining many traditional rivalries. Each team's remaining 6 games will rotate among the remaining conference schools. And each team will face every other SEC program at least once every 2 years and have every opponent home and away in 4 years. I like that. I do like that, especially with the with the expansion of these conferences and adding all these teams. It's like, well, we can't play everybody in the same year, but I still feel like you should if they're in their conference. So that's good. And the SEC teams are required to schedule at least one additional high-quality non-conference from the Atlantic Coast, Big 10, or Big 12 conferences, or Tom Scavetta's Notre Dame Fighting Irish each season. The SEC will continue to evaluate its policies to ensure the continued scheduling of high-quality non-conference opponents. So, no more Mercers, no more Chattanoogas in week 12 or week 13 or whatever it is. We're going to see some more high-level football, which is a good thing. RIP to those athletic departments that were cashing in $1 million checks for going down and getting their asses kicked. But Noah, your conference is changing things up a little bit. What do you think about the 9-game schedule? Do you like it? Do you dislike? Talk to me.
Personally, this might be a bit of a hot take. I don't really have a major opinion one way or the other. I think this is kind of one of those things. I expected it to happen, so now it's kind of happened. I'm just like, oh yeah, it's kind of official. I can understand why some people, complain about the 8-game schedule. You'd see these games in like you said, week 12, to where they're just playing some cupcake team. But there are a few things I want to mention. Number one, first of all, the SEC isn't the only conference that schedules cupcake teams. I mean, some of these other teams that these teams play in week 1, you sometimes never even heard of.
Right.
And in the case for a team like me, or a guy like me whose team is Georgia, we already kind of scheduled a good out of conference opponents. I mean, we played Clemson last year, who made the CFP. We played Oregon a few years ago. We played Clemson the year before that. I mean, we don't always just schedule cupcake teams. I think that's kind of more of a label Alabama got for years on end, where they would just play a cupcake after cupcake to start the season. I remember that being levied against them a lot. But
yeah, absolutely. You're
yeah,
right, though. It's not just the SEC. There are teams
Mhm.
everywhere, and I'll call out Indiana. Their schedule this year and years to come is fucking a joke. It is an absolute joke. Playing fucking bumfuck nowhere state fucking 4 years in a row. Sorry to cut you off, but I do want to. You made a good point that it's not just the SEC that does this, but they get called out for it all the time.
And I do want to say this again. I'm not saying this to make excuses for the SEC, but it kind of makes me laugh when Big Ten fans are like, "Oh, we played 9 conference games," and I'm like, that is true, but like playing a game against like Indiana most years or Northwestern or something isn't exactly what I would call a quality opponent either. Just
Oh,
because
you've never been in Champaign in November. You've never been in Champaign in November when the Wildcats come to visit. You throw the records out, and it just means more here. No, but I know what you're saying, but it's also like, okay, you mean what about like Vanderbilt or the bottom feeders of the SEC? Let's not act like
they beat Alabama last year.
Yeah, they did. Put them in the playoff. Diego Pavia says fucking
Exactly.
college football championship or nothing. But Tom, let's get you in the mix here. What do you think about this scheduling tweak? I know as an independent fan of an independent, it's kind of different for you. But what do you think? Do you think this levels the playing field? Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Are you like Noah? Are you kind of indifferent? It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of jumped the gun and said my piece on it, but just to kind of elaborate quickly, it makes sense. Don't have a strong opinion one way or another, like Noah said. Um, but I do think it will benefit some teams towards the middle of the conference because their strength of schedule will be better. For teams like the Gators, the Hogs, the Rebels, the Mississippi State, teams like that. It's not your Texas, your Georgia, and Alabama. This is not going to affect them much at all, if at all. Mm-hmm. I still think they'll come out with similar records every year. But yeah, again, you want to play the best teams possible and improve your resume going in and really find out which teams deserve to be in. It may hurt some bottom feeders. Not calling Vanderbilt that at the moment, but in the past,
I mean they're good now. Like I'm rooting for them. I hope they do well. But like
their head coach is one of us. So Clark Lee, I'm just saying, he's got that program up on the rise, and the parity is better than ever in college football right now. I'm buying this idea.
All right, I like it. I mean, I think even the playing field, like you said. If there's going to be criteria and we're going to have people voting on these teams to, get into the playoff, there should be some requirements. Like you should have to have some similar, body of work here. So that is our first segment. Our second segment, we're going to call this one 3 and Out, fellas. We each have 3 teams, a contender, a pretender, and a dark horse for this year. This can be for a conference. This can be for, the top 25 for the national championship. This can be however you interpreted this. Tom, 3 and Out. Give me your 3 teams.
All right, contender for the national championship. I don't like these guys, but I got to shout them out. Clemson. Cade Klubnik may be the best returning starter in the nation, arguably. He's got a projected first rounder in Antonio Williams this year to toss the pigskin to. He's been a starter for a couple of years now. Peter Woods and TJ Parker anchor a massive defensive front. They got the transfer Will Help as well from the Big Ten, and they have a favorable schedule. If they get past LSU this weekend, which we'll talk about later, they got a really clear path to the ACC title game, and they may get a high seed in the CFP with the potential Heisman frontrunner in Klubnik, who at this present moment is the projected number 1 overall pick in next year's NFL draft. So Clemson is my contender. My pretender, and this is without any bias at all, it's the Miami Hurricanes. We saw what happened with Carson Beck last year at Georgia. I was very high on Carson Beck last year.
You were.
I saw him in person 2 years ago, and I told Noah, damn, this boy could play. But to be fair, he was not 100%. He was also very inconsistent. Miami lost a lot in the secondary. They've had to rebuild a lot there with the transfer portal. The recruiting competition in the ACC has improved. They play in an improved ACC. They got a tough road ahead. Week 1, hosting Notre Dame. Notre Dame has not beaten Miami since 1977. So with that being said, if the Hurricanes don't get off on the right foot this weekend against my Fighting Irish, I don't think they get in the CFP. I think that's going to bode unwell for them this season, and I think they missed the college football playoff. I don't think we see what they did with Kem Ward this past year with Carson Beck. I hope I'm wrong because I like Carson Beck, but we'll have to see about that.
I hope you're correct with Carson Beck.
My dark horse. Oh, wait. Should I?
No, dark horse. Yeah, okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
My dark horse, Texas Tech. As far as making the CFP and potentially winning the Big 12.
Okay.
Joey Maguire and James Blanchard went on a spending spree this offseason. They have one extremely rich donor. I won't name who it is, but he is really, really into their football program, and he's invested a lot of money. Baron Morton returns better than ever at the quarterback position. He's finally healthy. They got an excellent trio of wide receivers in Caleb Douglas, Reggie Virgil, and Coy Eakin. In my opinion, that's the best wide receiver trio in the Big 12. With the Red Raiders last year, their offense was not the problem. They averaged 38 points per game. The defense was the issue. So what did they do? They dipped their hand in the transfer portal. They got David Bailey, who was awesome with Stanford last season, 7 sacks and 5 forced fumbles. They may go undefeated in Big 12 play this season, guys.
Ooh.
Their biggest test will be at Arizona State on October 18th, where they got to go up against Sam Levitt, who was really, really good last season, guys. For what was he, a sophomore last year? Yeah, just a true sophomore last year.
Don't sleep on Kanye Udo in the backfield for them too.
Yes,
for Arizona State.
That is another guy for the Wildcats who could pose some problems. The Sun Devils, excuse me. What am I saying? But the Red Raiders, look out, boys. Look out.
All right. So Clemson, your pretender was Miami, and Texas Tech is the dark horse. Texas Tech is interesting, man. Like their GM came out and said, like, I'll hear these guys are getting offered $100K. I'll just immediately offer him 300. Like he does not care. Mm-hmm. They are trying to drop some bags, which go ahead. We'll go ahead. So Noah, 3 and out. Give me your contender, pretender, and your dark horse.
Well, okay. First, my contender. It's a pretty boring pick. I hate to say him because honestly, I cannot stand this team and their fan base. But I went with the defending champs. I went with Ohio State.
Okay.
I know they lost a lot in the draft, but I think they're getting that point, where these contending teams, they can lose half their team basically every year, and they just recruit so well and do so much in transfer portal. It barely matters. I mean, they did lose Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles, but I mean, they bring back Brian Hartline, who's been with the team for a few seasons, and they get in Matt Patricia at DC, who was a DC/head coach in the NFL for a very long time. He knows what he's doing. I think he'll do pretty well at the college level as well. But Julian Sayin making the step up this season. He's very talented. They still have Jeremiah Smith, in my opinion, best wide receiver in all of college football. The guy's just absolutely ridiculous. And then they get in these beast recruits. They got Quincy Porter alongside Jeremiah Smith this year. They got Devin Sanchez in the secondary, also doing a lot of good work in the transfer portal. One key guy I think they brought in that kind of might be flying a bit under the radar. People are talking a lot about them losing Trayvon Henderson, but don't sleep on this CJ Donaldson they got in for West Virginia. That guy is an absolute animal. I think he'll do a great job for them as well. Pretender, it's tough to say this because I do like a lot of players on this team, and I genuinely like their head coach. But when the polls came out and I saw that the AP had these guys at number 2, I was just kind of scratching my head. Penn State. I do not see the hype with Penn State. Now, don't get me wrong. I know when people say that, oh, you think they're pretending, that means you think their team automatically sucks. I think their team is a very good team. But I feel like, again, it's the same thing with Penn State every year. Can they get over the hump and beat a team like Ohio State? In my opinion, I don't think they can, especially because they're playing at Ohio Stadium this season. And look at the rest of their schedule. That's not the only difficult game they have. They have to play Oregon. Granted, it is at home, but Oregon is a very tough team to play. They play at Iowa. I know Iowa has their issues, but they're still a team that, going on the road to Iowa is not what I would call a gimme game, especially with their defenses. Their defenses are very strong every year. At UCLA, I wouldn't bet on UCLA to win that game, but, maybe with Nico coming in, maybe they could pull an upset as well. I think they're a very good team. I think Drew Allar's excellent quarterback as well. But I just don't look at them and see, oh, this is the second or third best team in all of college football. I mean, even last season, guys, when they made the semifinal, they still lost 3 games. Like it's not like they went, 15-1 or whatever and just, barely lost 1 game. They got beaten by Ohio State and they lost to Oregon, both of whom they play again this season. So I would not be surprised at all if Penn State once again loses, 1 or 2 games. They might make the CFP. I'm not saying they'll miss completely, But I don't see the national championship contender that the AP season. I definitely would not place them above Ohio State, not by a long shot. Um, as for my dark horse, I kind of went. This one isn't really what I would call a national contender, but kind of maybe a low key conference contender and a team I think could sneak in the CFP. I went with a team that's actually unranked, and when I saw they were unranked, at first I was surprised, but I guess it makes sense because there's 10 ranked teams in the conference. I went with Missouri. I think Missouri is going to be a decent team this year, especially when they look at their schedule. Now I know they lost, Cook, they lost Burden and Weiss, they lost, some of their top offensive guys. But they also made 17 additions in the transfer portal, which was number 7 overall in the entire class. And they also had a number 20 recruiting class with 11 4-stars coming in. But if you look at their schedule, it's not exactly what I would call a murderer's row, especially for an SEC schedule. They do play Kansas at home on September 6th, which considering what we just saw from Kansas, that might be a difficult game. But I
Rivalry game.
mean, realistically, I think it's very possible they're 3-0 going into the South Carolina game, which is at home. So maybe they have a shot there. But I mean, other than that, Alabama's a difficult game, but again, it's at home. I'd expect them to lose it, but maybe they could keep it close. But at Auburn, I mean, at Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt is competitive, but I still think Missouri could pull a game off like that. A&M is tough, but again, at home, Mississippi State, and then they close the season at Oklahoma, at Arkansas. So I don't think it's impossible. A team like Missouri could go, 10-2, 9-3, maybe, lower fringes of college football contention. I don't think they win the SEC or anything like that. I still think they do have some tough games in there. But I think they're flying a bit on the radar, man. I think they're unranked, and personally, I would be shocked at the end of the season if Missouri isn't at least ranked, potentially in lower fringe college football playoff contention.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I
Like-
believe it's coming back when next year or the year after. So when I was a kid, Illinois would play Missouri every year, and it'd be in St. Louis. And they still do this for basketball. They need to bring it back for football. It was just one of like the best games every year. It still is. It's called bragging rights in basketball. Incredible. So Missouri is your dark horse. Your pretender. Remind me of your pretender again.
Penn State.
Penn State, of course. Fuck him. Well, it's because James Franklin's the head coach. When would you ever trust James Franklin as the head coach?
In a big game, yeah.
In a big game, exactly. If he has to prove that he can do it, and he has yet to do that. And then, yeah. So let's go with mine. So Tom and I were on the same wavelength for our contenders, so I'll pick my number 2. So I had Clemson because I think they're going to be really good. And number 4, obviously, I have Cade Klubnik. Dabo's finally decided that he's likes the transfer portal, and he's like, "Oh, I should probably use this if I want to win." So they're really good on the O line. They're really good on the D line. We'll see how that goes. But I'm going to go with their Week 1 matchup in LSU because I think LSU has an opportunity to make some noise in the SEC. Obviously, you have Garrett Nussmeier, who's being highly regarded. He's being talked about in the Heisman candidacy. He's being talked about as a first-round pick as well. Obviously they lost. LSU lost a lot, but they have brought a lot of new guys in. Their offensive line is being rebuilt, but there's a lot of talent there. And I think they have a chance to get hot and make noise in the SEC. My pretender is a team that I talked about earlier is Indiana. Can they do it 2 years in a row? I'm not trying to discount anything they did last year. Last year they were incredible. They had a great run. Would you say the same thing I said earlier about their schedule? Potentially. But Curtis Rourke was a baller. Their defense played great. Kirk Cinetti in year 1 absolutely reignited the program. Can he do that in back-to-back years? I don't know. Fernando Mendoza as the quarterback, I don't know if I'm as high on him as I was on Curtis Rourke, but I mean, we'll see. I just don't know if I see Indiana winning 10 games again this year. I just don't think so. And then my dark horse, I'm an absolute homer with this one, but it's Illinois. 18 returning starters. We're number 12 in the country. Obviously, preseason rankings mean nothing. I'm trying not to get too hyped up on it, but we're not ranked 12th in the preseason or really any time a lot around here. So when that happens, you get pretty excited. Luke Altmaier is going into his senior season, turned down multiple SEC offers to stay in Champaign. He's going to have new receivers to look for. You lost Zachary Franklin and Pat Bryant, your top 2 guys. But look for Malik Elzy to make a huge step up. They went and got Hudson Clement from West Virginia. I expect him to have an impact. Guys like Colin Dixon, guys like Hank Beatty that have been in the program for a few years should make an impact there as well. And then, yeah, so those are my three. Is Illinois going to go win the national championship? I don't know. I don't think so. Would I love that? Yes. I think they have a really realistic chance to win 10 games and make the college football playoff. Yes. If they do that, will I absolutely explode everywhere? Yes. Also, I'll be there Friday night, and they are honoring the 2005 national runner-up basketball team that night. So like D Brown, Luther Head, James Augustine, Roger Powell, like all those guys are going to be here. Bruce Weber. I will be hammered, and there's a non-zero chance there will be tears streaming down my face when they're honored on the field for sure. But yeah, ILL. Sorry, I'm a fucking homer, but yeah, those are my three. It was going to be Clemson, but Tom took them, so I'm going to go LSU, Indiana, and Illinois. All right, so that's our 3 and out. We're rolling through this, boys. Next, one more reminder: please check us out on YouTube. Throw us a subscribe at the Tailgate Committee on YouTube, and then check us out on our social media, Facebook, Instagram at the Tailgate Committee, Twitter at the Tailgate Com. This is a new segment. It is our weekly preview. It's called the Six Pack. Sit back, crack open a six pack. This is the Tailgate Committee. After all, that's my favorite thing to bring to a tailgate is, well, maybe a little bit more than six. We might need to get a little bit rowdy, boys. But we have 6 games from this weekend that we are going to break down and preview. We think they are 6 of the most notable, 6 of the games that you should be watching this weekend. So we're going to start off with a Friday game. So we have games starting Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. What a fucking weekend of week 1. Let's go. Labor Day weekend, I'm fired up. We're going to start Auburn at Baylor, 7 p.m., excuse me, on Friday night on Fox. 2 programs, I'm going to say it, guys, I think are in desperate need of getting off on a right foot this to start the year. A couple programs that have had some struggles the past couple years. Tom, give me your breakdown of this game. Auburn, Baylor, who do you like?
All right, let's open this up, fellas. So Auburn favored by 2.5 on the road. Interesting line. Hugh Freeze absolutely on the hot seat this year. The Tigers just won 5 games last year. 5 starters on their offense are transfers, including Jackson Arnold, who came in from Oklahoma, had 12 touchdowns and 3 picks last year. I believe he eventually got benched. So it's imperative that he gets off to a good start. They do have some talent coming back. Sophomore receiver Cam Coleman had 8 scores last year, and Keldrick Falk had 7 sacks on the defensive side. He's going to have to get in the face of Sawyer Robertson, a guy who's been a starter for a couple of seasons now for Baylor, the redshirt senior. Really experienced guy, 28 touchdowns to just 8 picks last year. Not a bad ratio. I like Bryson Washington in the backfield, between the tackles type of guy. I have to check that box, as you know, right, Mr. Hopper. Yeah, and I like Josh Cameron too. I think he's got good hands. He's got good ball skills. Their O-line, the entire line returns. They're all upperclassmen for Baylor. The question is, can the Bears get better defensively? Like we know last year, right? They ended on a 6-game winning streak after starting 2-4. They only lost 1 home game, though, all season. So, with all things considered, I'm going with the more experienced team here, the team that ended last season on a better note. In previous seasons, I would say when in doubt, you pick the SEC, but it's year 2025. That strategy goes out the window. Give me Baylor.
Noah, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Tom. I'm going to pick Baylor in this game as well. I just think Auburn has way too many question marks. You know, they won 5 games last year. Like Tom said, Hugh Freeze absolutely on the hot seat. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they get off to a bad start and he's fired midway through the season. I mean,
100%
that
agree.
is definitely a possibility. But I mean, Jackson Arnold, when I watched him at Oklahoma last year, I think the best way to describe Jackson Arnold is he's okay. He's not horrible. He's not amazing. He's just the epitome of okay. So if he's the guy leading your offense this season, it's not exactly something that I think is going to make or break or change your team massively. Whereas on the other side, like Tom said, I think Sawyer Robinson is solid. 26 touchdown passes last season. And Baylor was good last season. They weren't just bums. They went 8-5, like you said, had a big winning streak, and they're tough to beat at home. Auburn just is not a team that fills me with confidence. And plus, unbiasedly, I absolutely hate, or biasedly, I absolutely hate their guts. So I'm never picking them to win a game like this. Give me Baylor.
All right, so we have 2 for the Baylor Bears here. So, like you said, Hugh Freeze, he's on the hot seat. Dave Aranda at Baylor, he was on the hot seat last year. A 2-4 start, like Tom mentioned, you rattle off 6 wins in a row. You feel a lot better about yourself coming into this year. We're talking about a Baylor program that was very, very highly regarded and had a great run there. Just feels like 10 years ago at this point. For Auburn, this is something I didn't realize. They are suffering through one of the worst stretches in program history. 4 straight losing seasons. That's the first time since 1950. Before 2022, they had made a bowl game every year since 2013. You can imagine how awful they are feeling down there in Auburn, Alabama. So enter this year, you have Hugh Freeze, who is coaching for his life, his absolute life right now. You bring in Jackson Arnold, a very highly regarded recruit, right? He was, talked about at Oklahoma, being like, hey, this kid is talented. He could be the guy. Didn't necessarily go that way in Norman. Was that 100% his fault? I don't know, but he definitely didn't help himself out. What's going to help him this year? He's got Eric Singleton. He's got Cam Coleman to throw the ball to. So the Auburn receiving core is very highly regarded. They're good. Is the rest of the team? Can the rest of the team keep up? How is Jackson Arnold going to look? How free is Hugh Freeze going to be coaching and play calling, right? Like come on, man. Like if you're coaching for your job, like hey, you have a stick up your ass or you just kind of like, fuck it, let's just go balls to the wall. And I think at a certain point, you kind of got to just go fuck it if you're Hugh Freeze, because how much worse can it get? They're just going to fire you. I guess at least you didn't have a scandal with an intern or whatever like Harsin did. But we'll see. Obviously Baylor, the more experienced team, they're at home. Chalky, give me the Bears. It's a sweep for Baylor, so bet all your money on Auburn. Tom, if that is
hammer
anything,
hammer out.
Anything like we're used to. All right, our next one, and I think this is the game of the week, game of the year, early game of the year candidate. Number 1, Texas is going to the shoe to face number 3, Ohio State. 11 a.m. big noon kickoff on Fox. I say 11 a.m. I'm Central Time. These guys are Eastern Time, so whatever. 11 noon, you get it. It's on Fox. Arch Manning, his first start. Julian Sayin got the job for Ohio State. Noah, tell me what you think about this matchup.
Yeah, tough, really tough game to pick. And like you said, crazy game for a big noon kickoff. Typically, I saw a lot of people complaining it should be prime time. I personally don't mind because of those primetime games on the East Coast, they can go to like 10:30 or 11 at night, and I do not like that. So I don't have a big issue with it. But what a way to kick off the first, packed college football Saturday. But like I said earlier, I picked Ohio State to be my contender of the season, so it'd be kind of weird for me to say that and then pick against them in
Took
this
him to
game.
lose right away.
Yeah. I think with this one, they're 2 pretty evenly matched teams, and when it comes down to that, I typically give the edge to home field advantage, which goes Ohio State's edge this way. And plus, like I said, I know they lost a lot, but again, they're one of those teams they can just recruit and bring guys in the transfer portal so well that doesn't really affect them that much at that point. And plus, I think with Ryan Day, he finally got that monkey off his back winning the national title because he always had that, oh, what was it Jim Harbaugh said, you're born on third base and people think
Yeah.
he had a triple. He got that monkey off his back, he won a title. He doesn't have to worry about, that pressure hanging over him for the time being. And like I said, very difficult place to play. Arch Manning does not have a lot of experience. Granted, you can say that about both quarterbacks, but it won't affect saying as much because he's at home. This is by far the biggest game Arch Manning has played in his career, unless you want to count like the playoff games. But to start a season, I mean, it's a whole different level, especially a true road game like this. I do think it'll be close. I don't think it'll be a blowout or anything, but I will pick Ohio State to win, probably by, a touchdown or 10 points.
Oh, wow. Touchdown 10-point win for the Buckeyes at home. Arch Manning's first start, Julian Sands' first start. Arch has proven that he can make explosive plays. He can hurt you with his feet. He can hurt you with his arm. How can he do it? Or how is he going to do it when he is the true leader of the offense, right? This is his team. It's not just him coming off the bench and like, hey, let's see what happens, right? Tom, give me your analysis of Texas versus Ohio State.
Yeah, rematch of the semifinal last year of the CFP. New starting QB for each team, like you said. What Arch Manning brings that Quinn Ewers didn't is his consistent mobility and his more powerful arm. Ewers struggled at times last year. People would argue if Arch Manning started games, they would have beaten Georgia at least once, and they possibly might
I would argue that.
beaten Ohio State. Manning had 4 rushing touchdowns last year. I know a lot about the Mannings being a Giants fan, guys. Quintravion Wisner is back, 1,000-yard back. Again, they lost some weapons, though. Matthew Golden, Isaiah Bond, and Gunnar Helm. Kelvin Banks on the offensive line as well. Jake Majors at center. Who's going to replace those guys? Well, you got Ryan Wingo. You got DeAndre Moore Jr. stepping up into full-time starting roles for those guys. Sophomore Emmett Mosley V, God bless his family, transfers in from Stanford with 6 touchdowns last season. I'm sure all the other Emmets will be watching his Texas debut on Saturday. Horns bring back a lot of defenders. Ethan Burke, Colin Simmons, who had 9 sacks as a true freshman, guys. He can blitz. He can drop back into coverage. He's a true mixed bag. Anthony Hill as well. They're linebackers. They're going to cause a lot of confusion for Julian saying. You know what I'm saying?
Mark that one down. There's his first bad pun of the year.
8 sacks for Hill Jr. last year. Michael Taffy and Malik Muhammad in that secondary, 2 veterans. And remember, 2 of the 3 losses last year by Texas were to Noah's Dogs. The other was to Ohio State. For Ohio State, Jeremiah Smith is going to make plays in this game. There's no doubt. But can you contain him enough where you have to make other guys beat you in order for them to win the football game? Cardell Tate, good complementary option. Brandon Innes as well. Max Clare, the transfer from Purdue.
He's a baller.
He is a baller. Sonny Styles returns at linebacker. Caleb Downs at safety. First-round projection heading into next year. Look, the Buckeyes lost 2 games last year. It was by a combined 4 points. This is going to be a very, very tough game for me to predict. But with a new quarterback and 2 new coordinators, it has me thinking twice on this one. I'm going with the Horns.
Oh!
Arch Manning gets the job done, drives down the field in Manning fashion, game-winning field goal for Texas. Texas forever, baby. Hook 'em.
All right. Wow. Tom is going with the Horns. Some incredible analysis there. And I think you spoke to something about Ohio State that Noah also mentioned, which it's like, yeah, they lost a lot, but they don't rebuild. They just reload, guys. Like, that's just what it is. Like, it's, oh, we just lost this guy to the first round. Well, we're just going to go find another 5-star recruit, or, oh, let me go to the portal and get this kid from Bama or Georgia or wherever and be like, hey, you want to come to Columbus? Oh, yeah, here's $2 million. Here we go. But as far as what I think, I am super, super excited to watch this quarterback matchup. I don't know much about Julian Sayin. Obviously, a very highly regarded recruit. He won the job, so Ryan Day must think high of him. I want to see Arch. I don't want to see what Sark does to scheme up this kid to use his legs, make some plays with his feet and his arm, obviously. I think we're in for an instant classic here. Wow. When I last looked at it, I think Texas was like plus 102 on the money line, and that is just fucking screaming to me. Also as a guy that despises Ohio State, but give me the Longhorns. Give me the Longhorns. I might regret that. I might regret that later. that is purely just like I can feel under my cojones. Arch Manning's got to be good, right? He has to be the chosen one. We'll see about that. Let's move on. Our next game is another 11 a.m. on Saturday. So you throw this on your second screen. I think it has potential to be a decent one. Fran Brown's Syracuse Orange are going to Rocky Top to take on the Tennessee Volunteers. That's 11 a.m. Central Time on ABC. We have Steve Angeli, the Notre Dame transfer, has been named the Syracuse starter. Obviously, we had all of that turmoil with Tennessee over the offseason, and Nico, he's packed up and he is on to UCLA. Is it Gio Lopez? Is that the guy, or is it Joey Aguilar? Joey Aguilar. Gio Lopez is North Carolina. Joey Aguilar now taking the job for the Volunteers. Tom, what do you think about this game? Syracuse, do they have a chance on the road in SEC country?
How about this for Steve Angeli? There's going to be a lot of orange bleeding on that TV, but man, playing in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia for your first game.
Okay, it's neutral site. Sorry, they're not going to Rocky Top. My bad.
Yes.
My bad.
Neutral site game going up against Joey Aguilar. I think Syracuse has the quarterback advantage in this game, guys. I really do. Aguilar is not a bad quarterback, but he's nothing more than serviceable, in my opinion. That's what he is. He only completed 56% of his passes last year for App State. 14 interceptions as well. The Vols have a lot of unproven weapons, guys. Miles Kitzelman played for Bama in 22. Struggled last year when he transferred. Chris Brazel, Deshaun Bishop need to step up at their respective positions. Also, for Steve Angeli, he's going to reunite with his old Notre Dame teammate, Sam Pendleton, who is now Tennessee's starting left guard. Shout out to Sam Pendleton. Defensively for the Vols, Jermon McCoy, one of the few returning starters, 4 picks last year. Their defense only allowed 20 points or more in 3 games last year. Credit to Josh Heupel. He has a lot to look forward to as far as returning his team to the CFP this year. That's going to be a tough road, but a manageable road. They have a sour taste in their mouth, guys, too. Everybody was picking them to beat Ohio State in the first round last year, myself included, and it didn't happen. And why didn't it happen? Because of the quarterback play. And what's the one thing that concerns me about Tennessee in this game? The quarterback play. We mentioned Steve Angeli. It just goes to show you how awkward Notre Dame's QB situation was last year. As much as we praised Riley Leonard throughout most of the season, Andy, when Angeli came in that one game, I think it was against Penn State. I don't think it was Georgia, right? It was Penn State. They were calling for Angeli to start the second half over Riley Leonard.
He didn't look bad.
He was. That's how good he was. My question is, can he duplicate what Kyle McCord did last year for Syracuse? The answer there is no. They have 4 transfers on the offensive line. Yes, they got Jonte Cook from Texas, which is a solid get. But if they have any chance of winning this football game or just hanging in there against the Vols, David Reese, their edge rusher, top edge rusher, needs to apply a lot of pressure off Tennessee. They have to infiltrate the trenches, and it's not going to be easy because Fran Brown's team has a lot of holes. It's too much to overcome an SEC opponent, even with it being a neutral site. I think Angeli makes some plays in this game, but Syracuse's defense has way too many holes. Tennessee wins by multiple possessions.
Yep. It's it'd be 13 and a half, 14-point spread now at this point of this game. Going to be a big test for Fran Brown's squad. Noah, what do you think about this game? You like the orange? You like, well, I guess it's 2 shades of orange. Orange versus burnt orange.
I definitely not like the Tennessee orange, that's for sure. But unfortunately, I'm probably going to pick them anyway, just because, like Tom said, I do think Syracuse has a few too many holes. I think they lost a lot of pieces from last year, including Kyle McCord, who had a really good bounce back season for him last season after kind of struggling with Ohio State. But I think with Angeli, it's kind of, one of those things. I like him from what I saw from limited time, but having a starting job from the get-go is a completely different animal. Will he be prepared? Be prepared for that kind of role this season again? It's possible, but it is an unknown. And with Tennessee, again, I think they have a lot of question marks. Nico is out of there, so they bring in Aguilar, who, like Tom said, I think is at least a serviceable quarterback. I don't think he's one of those guys. I don't think he'll make or break the season. He'll just kind of, do the basics, keep the team, competitive. And they did lose a fair bit. They lost James Pierce. They lost Squirrel White in the transfer portal. One of my favorite names in
Great
college football,
names.
by
Yeah,
the way.
great
But
name.
but once again, I think it's one of those things. Both teams have question marks and unknowns, so I'm gonna default to the team which I think is overall more talented and who have more faith in their head coach, which is Tennessee. I think Josh Heupel does a good job. As much as I can't stand him, I think he's a crybaby. He is a good coach. And I think I'll have those guys ready. So yeah, give me Tennessee by 14.
Tennessee by 14 is Noah's pick. I'm going to go chalky here as well. I think the Volunteers do get this game uh, done. Squirrel White, by the way, is transferred to Florida State. That is our next game that we're going to talk about here. But yeah, I mean, I'm in on Tennessee here, guys. I know obviously they ended last season with that bad taste in their mouth, but this is a step forward. Obviously, you got a different quarterback, a reloaded roster. I'm interested to see what Josh Heupel is going to draw up here. And Fran Brown, one of the best post-game interviewers in college football. If they win this game, he will shower. If they don't, like he said last year, losers don't get showers, so he's going to be stinky as hell if they lose this game. But let's move on. Alabama is taking on Florida State, 2:30 p.m. on ABC. That is Central Time. Again, folks, we have a new starting quarterback in Tuscaloosa, Ty Simpson. This isn't something you see a lot anymore, guys. Ty Simpson stuck around and you waited his turn. 3 seasons in Alabama. 50 total passes, 381 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He's finally getting his shot. I'll go with my SEC guy first. Noah, Bama, Florida State. Does Florida State have any chance in this game?
2-3 years ago, I think this would be an amazing matchup. But now so to be honest, I don't really understand what Mike Norvell is doing. So one of the main problems for Florida State last season was they had no offense whatsoever. They had a quarterback who was mobile. He could run, but he couldn't pass. So what did Mike Norvell do in the transfer portal? He got another quarterback who is mobile, can move, but cannot really pass. And Thomas Castellanos from Boston College last season, I think he's fine. I don't think he's bad or amazing or anything, but he's definitely a more mobile first type of quarterback, which I guess a team like Alabama that always stacks in the trenches, I don't think it's going to work very well. I have questions about the skills positions. I think Squirrel White is fine, but I don't think you would prefer him to be one of your top offensive weapons. Usually, he's more of a 3 or 4 guy. In my opinion, their defense has so many question marks. And on the other side, I mean, again, I think with Alabama, the biggest question mark is actually Ty Simpson. I think
Yeah.
other than that, they have pieces. They still have Ryan Williams, who's who's an animal. Jeremy Bernard, solid player. They still have Jam Miller and Richard Young in the backfield, which is solid. They have, in my opinion, the best left tackle in all of college football in Caden Proctor. And their defense, I think their defense will be fine. They still have Keon Sabb, who's an animal in the secondary. They still have LJ Overton as well. I just think, unfortunate for Florida State, man. After a season like last year, I mean, that's just so debilitating to the program. I hate to say it, I think they still have UGA PTSD, and I think it's going to keep affecting them here, man. I would like to see Florida State keep it close. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think Alabama's going to win this game 42-10.
Oh, we have a blowout projected from Noah Dibler. All right. Tom, my friend, what do you think?
Yeah, I'll be quick. Jam Miller will be the focal point of this ground attack. He's going to jam it up the middle, between the tackles. Ryan Williams is still just 18 years old, guys. That's how incredible he is. I hope Bama gets him the football more this season. They get Isaiah Horton via the transfer portal from Miami. He was solid for them last year. Jeremy Bernard is back. They got Brody Dalton from Troy as well at the tight end position. Love my tight ends. And defensively, they got LT Overton coming back, Deontay Lawson, Damani Jackson, and Keon Sabb in the secondary, two guys that should get drafted. Again, you have to fill that void for Jahad Campbell, right? He's gone. He's in the NFL now. We'll see what they do defensively this year. Again, any holes defensively won't be exposed this week because Florida State won't be able to expose them. They won't be able to execute plays past that first level, in my opinion. The Noles have 8 transfers on this offense. This is basically going to be a preseason game for these guys. And I hate to say that about the Noles, but it's true. Their only 2 returning starters, get this, left guard Richie Leonard, the 4th, and running back Roy Dell Williams, who, by the way, before last year, spent 4 years at Alabama. So it's those 2 guys. And then the third, who's not returning, is just a true freshman at receiver. So, yeah, look, Castellanos, I liked him last year at Boston College. Put up Daniel Jones-esque numbers at Boston College. But you got to try to get the ball to Deuce Robinson, right? Tall 6'6". Line him up on the outside. Put him in the slot. Try to do something different if you're going to beat this Alabama team. I'm surprised the spread is this low at 13.5. And the other key to this game, in order to stop Jam Miller, Darrell Jackson Jr. needs to lead the way for that defensive line. Redshirt senior will have his hands full, must stop the run. Secondary needs to have a good plan for Ryan Williams if they want to hang around. The 2 checkpoints for them to compete in this game, they won't be able to check off either box. Bama wins by 25.
Oh, not a lot of confidence in the Seminoles here on the first episode of the Tailgate Committee, folks. And I hate to pile on to Florida State Nation, but I will be taking the Crimson Tide as well. Ty Simpson finally gets his chance, and I expect him to take full advantage of it. Look, guys, I liked watching Thomas Castellanos at Boston College last year. I felt like he is a fun guy to watch, but he's not very big. And like you said, Noah, he cannot throw. I mean, he can throw, but like, you don't watch this guy playing like, wow, his arm is what, jumps off the television at you. So yeah, go ahead and give me the Tide. Maybe I should have picked a different game. That one's going to be ugly according to us. So we have 2 games left, and they are 2 absolute bangers, ladies and gentlemen. 6:30 p.m. ABC Saturday night. Number 9 LSU is going to number 4 Clemson. I know this one's an actual true road game. Not messing this one up. Nussmeier, Klubnik, Noah, talk to me.
Yes. This is going to be an absolute barn burner, I think. I think it's going to be, a 3-point type of game in this one. LSU, I really like a lot of their players. I mean, you mentioned Nussmeier. The guy is absolute cannon of an arm. They also brought in, some pieces defensively in the offseason. They're also getting back. It's basically another transfer, in my opinion. Harold Perkins missed most of last season. He was a superstar for him the few years before that. I think it'll be interesting to see what he does coming back. They brought in Patrick Payton, transfer from Florida State as well, who, was a pretty decent piece for a rather horrific team last season, so to say. But, this is a really talented LSU team, I think. And on the other side, Clemson, Klubnik, big year for Klubnik because, like someone said in the show earlier, number 1 projected pick. I think he's a guy I've seen good and bad from him. I think he really runs hot and cold. So I think this is a big prove it year for him, especially as a senior, all that draft stock on the line. But in his benefit, he's getting a lot of help back, especially defensively. I don't remember exactly how many, but most of this defense is coming back. They have a ton of seniors on the defense, very experienced unit. And, unfortunately, I hate to say this because I know Tom absolutely loves this guy, but big game BK, man. I do not have a lot of faith in Brian Kelly winning this game on the road at Clemson. That's a very difficult place to play. Maybe if it was at LSU or a neutral site, I'd be more willing to lean in LSU's direction, but I think Clemson is due for that's not necessarily a bounce back because they did make the CFP last season, but definitely a step up towards that more title contention window that we're usually used to Clemson seeing. And I think it's going to start with a close but good win against a solid LSU team. I'm going to go Clemson winning this game by a field goal.
All right. I think this has all the makings of one of the better games of the weekend. Obviously we talked about Texas and Ohio State earlier, which I said potential game of the year. This is in that conversation as well. Two extremely talented quarterbacks that are on the exact opposite of the spectrum from what we're seeing in that other game. It's two very experienced guys getting a chance to go ball out. I am a little concerned about the Tigers, guys. 5 consecutive season openers they have dropped. They are 0-5 in their last season, or in their last 5 season openers, including 3 straight under Brian Kelly. Are they able to buck that trend here? We know, this is Death Valley versus Death Valley. Does the winner of this get the claim that they are the true Death Valley? I guess, there's a return game in Baton Rouge next year, but all the makings of a good one. I'm going to go real quick before you do, Tom. I think Clemson gets it done. I have to give them the upper hand here because they're at home, but I think we are going to see a lot of points, and I think we're going to see this come down to the last possession. Tom, go ahead.
I think LSU is going to control the tempo of the game early. I think it's going to be very interesting, right? You got Klubnik and Nussmeier, 2 gems at QBs. I know Klubnik's had his struggles, but his ratios last year, 36 touchdowns to 6 picks. He started every game. That's a 6-to-1 ratio. I love that. That's a recipe for success, and that fulfills the Bill Parcells recipe of a future NFL franchise quarterback.
Talked about that this week, yes.
Yes, we did. Williams, Wesco, Moore, all back. Antonio Williams, top 5 receiver in the nation, in my opinion. They have a pair of elite offensive tackles that are the meat and the potatoes of the offense in Tristan Lay and Blake Miller. They have 3 graduate students on the O-line starting, in addition to 1 senior and 1 redshirt junior. Earlier in the show, one of our previous segments, I talked about TJ Parker and Peter Woods in the trenches on that defensive line. Those 2 guys can play. They get good tackles for loss. Will help the transfer from Purdue with 5 sacks. Sammy Brown being a good linebacker next to Wade Woodaz. He had 5 sacks as a true freshman, and Wade, who I just aforementioned, he was really solid, led them in tackles. And LSU, for them, is time running out on Brian Kelly? They went 8-4 last year in year 3 of the Brian Kelly era. He's not getting any younger. He's, in his early 60s now. He's got a good quarterback in Garrett Nussmeier. He had a good quarterback in Jaden Daniels, and he was unable to do much from an overall team perspective with those insane talents that he had. Caden Durham is going to have to control the tempo of this game. Aaron Anderson at receiver. Noah mentioned they got some guys, Patrick Payton, Harold Perkins, Jack Pyburn from Florida as well. The Weeks brothers at linebacker, Whit Weeks, who's been awesome for them over the past couple of seasons, and his brother, by the way, transferring from the University of Virginia, West Weeks. It's going to be interesting to see those 2 brothers play at the linebacker spots for them this season. They got a lot of transfers in the secondary too, Mansour Delane and Tamarcus Cooley. This is what it comes down to for me. The defense had a hard time forcing turnovers last year. They need to give Nussmeier and this offense a chance to win them games. I think LSU gets ahead early. They control the tempo. Second half, script flips. Clemson figures it out. They take control. They win the game. Unfortunately, they lose in classic Brian Kelly fashion. Clemson wins outright, and I think they cover the spread. I heard somebody said they win by 3 before. I think they win by 4.
No, Noah, he loves Brian Kelly, but he knows his faults. He knows Brian Kelly's faults.
That's why I was surprised to hear him say that. But
right. But Tom, you brought up something that's pretty interesting. Is his seat getting hot? They fired Coach O, 2 years removed from a national title?
Yeah.
Kelly hasn't gotten him there. And it is, if this season goes the wrong way.
He can't relate to the players anymore. He can't. Remember the execution comment a couple of years ago?
Did you see the compilation somebody put together of his photo with all the recruits?
Exactly what you're talking about.
It is the exact same smile every time. Dude, it's freaky as fuck. The guy smiles the same every picture. It's like a 30-second, maybe even minute-long compilation. It's do. His face doesn't change the entire time. Freaky. All right. Speaking of freaky, we're down to our last game of our 6-pack. Let's get this show wrapped up, boys. This has been an incredible way to kick off the era of the Tailgate Committee, and we're going to do it with another top 10 matchup. This one on Sunday, 6:30 Central on ABC. Once again, Catholics versus convicts, ladies and gentlemen. Tom Scavetta's Notre Dame Fighting Irish taking on number 10 Miami Hurricanes. Tom, I think there's no better person to start this off than with you, because I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts on this one. CJ Carr, the redshirt freshman, getting the first start of his career, going up against Carson Beck and the Miami Hurricanes, which still sounds weird to say. But I'm sure Noah's thrilled that it's Carson Beck's Miami Hurricanes and not the Georgia Bulldogs. But Tom, give me your breakdown of this game.
Yeah, number 6 at number 10, Notre Dame favored by 2.5 on the road. Yeah, Carson Beck, what the heck, man? I mean, you transfer into Miami, you break up with your girlfriend upon arrival, and it was really sad. It was really sad to see that happen to Carson Beck. I know he missed the CFP last year with an injury. His numbers weren't good last year for Carson Beck standards. Some other quarterbacks would have taken those numbers, the 3,400 passing yards, the 28 touchdowns, the 12 picks. They're going to have to lean on their receiving corps. Tony Johnson coming in from Cincinnati, CJ Daniels coming in from LSU. They're looking to replace guys on that offense like Restrepo, Horton, Arroyo, who got drafted. Cam Ward and Damian Martinez are also gone. They got a new center in James Brockmeyer. All bias aside, there's a lot of moving pieces on this Hurricanes offense. Ruben Bain, defensively, needs to get back to playing the way he did a couple of years ago. All 5 guys in their secondary are transfers. Last year, Miami had some hiccups late in the season on defense that cost them. Cam Ward was having to play from behind a lot, and it wasn't great. For Notre Dame, they're coming off a national championship appearance. Andy briefly mentioned this. CJ Carr wins the starting quarterback job as of last week. Marcus Freeman did not name the starting quarterback up until last week and said he had to, in quotes, trust my gut. Carr is a redshirt freshman who sat behind both Riley Leonard and Steve Angeli last season. He had an intense QB competition with Kenny Minchey. Definitely a little concerning that it took them this long to figure it out. I guess they just wanted to do their homework on both of those guys. Returning, though, for the Irish is Jeremiah Love. Arguably the top back in the nation, guys, that's returning. Over 1,100 rush yards last year, 17 touchdowns. My question to Miami is, how can you stop him? Not stop him, contain him. Well, their backup running back, he's going to be great when he replaces Love next season. Jadarian Price, guys, their backup running back last year had 750 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns for a backup running back. That's insane. And to add to that, receivers-wise, you have Jaden Greathouse coming back, who broke out in the CFP. He became Andy's favorite wide receiver overnight.
He was awesome.
He's the primary target now on this offense. Jordan Faison, a guy who can catch screens and reverses. He's got good quickness in the backfield. I don't know how Miami's going to stop him. Malachi Fields, the transfer from Virginia Tech. Big 6'4" build, red zone threat. Good replacement for Bo Collins, who, by the way, made the Giants' 53-man roster. Shout out Bo Collins. And Will Pauling from Wisconsin. 2 years at Wisconsin, 2 years at Cincinnati. Went from the Luke Fickell effect. There was a connection there with Marcus Freeman being Cincinnati's former defensive coordinator before coming to Notre Dame to hold that same role at first. And then Eli Raridon at tight end. He's a big-bodied player. They got to replace Mitchell Evans, who missed some time last year. And Noah mentioned this before. He thinks Caden Proctor is the best left tackle in the nation. I'll tell you who I think is the second best left tackle in the nation, and it's Antoine Knapp. Why did Notre Dame get as far as they did last year? They trusted a true freshman, Antoine Knapp, to go in and start essentially every game. He was awesome. I really liked what he did in the run game last year. He kept Riley Leonard on his feet. Ashton Craig returns to start at center after suffering a season injury against Purdue. So, again, the offensive line is back. really good shape. They did lose both Pat Coogan and Rocco Spindler in the transfer portal. A lot of people viewed them as starters, but what most non Notre Dame fans don't know, yeah, those guys are really good for us, but they were backups heading into last season. They only came in because they had to replace Charles Jagger-Shaw and Ashton Craig. Now they're gone. So who's going to step in and fill that void? Unfortunately, Charles Jagger-Shaw had an ATV incident on the 4th of July. Right now, Sullivan Absher is scheduled to fill in that right guard position. And here's the big elephant in the room nobody wants to talk about. How is Notre Dame's defense going to look? Al Golden leaving for the NFL to be the defensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. Chris Ash, we all know that name a little bit, maybe not for the best reason, returns to Notre Dame to be the defensive coordinator. Donovan Heinisch is coming back. Gabe Rubio and Josh Burnham got big game exposure last year in the CFP. Drake Bowen, middle linebacker, moves from the Will to the Mike, taking over Jack Kaiser's role. The one Achilles heel of this Notre Dame defense that concerns me against Miami that I think they could exploit is Christian Gray. He got exposed big time in the CFP last year. This is mostly a veteran team. I'm fine with Leonard Moore at corner, Adon Schuler. Those guys can play. They're ballers. They don't give up a heavy average depth of target either. Quarterback struggle to throw on them. It's Christian Gray that concerns me. So that's my one concern of the game. This is what it boils down to. This rivalry is insane. It could really go either way. These teams haven't met in 8 years. Notre Dame hasn't won in Miami in, 45 years, 1977. Is that? No, that's not even close. 48 years, I think. But Marcus Freeman is 14-5 against ranked opponents. So give me Notre Dame and their experience. I think Carr does enough to get the job done. I think their offensive line and their running game controls the tempo. The offense is unable to get comfortable, and the defense does enough, creates a turnover or two to win this game.
What a breakdown. What an analysis there from our guy, Tommy Boy. He is taking the Irish. I could guess that. I am, I think a big thing to watch for me is this Miami offensive line. Are they going to be able to move around that Notre Dame D line? Are they going to be able to move Gabe Rubio out of the way? Mark Fletcher is the guy that's coming in for Miami. He's going to take over in the backfield. Can he make some noise, in the running game? Because I think Miami's going to have to. I don't think we're going to see Miami being as air raid or, as in love with the pass as we were last year when they had Cam Ward. Don't get me wrong, Carson Beck can still sling the ball, but, I think they're going to be a little bit more methodical this year. We'll see if Mario Cristobal knows when to take a knee or not, or has any sense of clock management. But Noah, I know Tom's hard to follow after that, but what is your breakdown of this Miami and Notre Dame game? I know an interesting perspective from you, being a Georgia fan. You've watched Carson Beck the past few years. You know what it's like to have him under center for your team. So how do you see this game shaking out?
I think with Carson Beck, he is a talented guy. I'm not going to say he sucks anything like that. His problem last season was decision making. He would make a lot of, even if it wasn't an interception. I mean, obviously, Tom mentioned earlier, he did have 12 interceptions, which is very high, especially because Gunnar Stockton did come in towards the end of the season. But he would just have too many reads where, he would throw to a guy that was too covered to get broken up, or he'd overthrow passes that were actually open right to a defender, or he just throw to a guy that was never covered and it would get picked off. That was his main issue. To be fair to Carson Beck, the 2024 Dogs were nowhere near as talented offensively compared to the year before. They did lose Bowers. They lost McConkey. They had some revolution in the running back room as well. Nate Frazier was their starter. So I don't think it was all him, but I don't think he was good as he was the year before. I definitely think there are question marks with him this season, and it's kind of a prove it year for him. He's had one good year, he's had one not so good year. What's he going to do this year? As for the rest of the Miami offense, they have lost a fair bit, to be certain. And even last year, Cam Ward was amazing. Don't get me wrong, but they still lost 3 games. It's not like they're an unbeatable team by any means, and that's with them losing some pieces this year. Now they did bring some pieces in the transfer portal, like Tom said. But I do think there are some question marks with this Miami team. I definitely think they've had a fair bit of a generous ranking at number 10. I think it was Tom earlier that had them down as his pretender team, and I can understand that as well. And on the other side for Notre Dame, they do have question marks as well. You already mentioned CJ Carr coming in at quarterback. It'd be interesting to see what he does. Definitely a question mark there, but redshirt freshman probably is a decent amount of talent. Tom would know about that way more than I do, of course, but it'd be interesting to see what he does. Leonard was a guy inconsistent in my opinion. I think he'd have moments where he looked amazing, and then it looked like there were moments where they could barely move the ball through the air at all. But like Tom said, this 1-2 running back punch, man, in Price and Love is absolutely phenomenal. They're not gonna have absolutely no issues running the football, especially with that offensive line. They still have Great House, who has always been a great explosive threat type of guy. And they got Malachi Fields, Cam Williams as well. They have some weapons there for him to go to. My biggest question mark for Notre Dame, besides the quarterback, who's a total unknown, is the secondary, because that was their biggest strength last year, in my opinion. They lost Ben Morrison and Xavier Watts. They do have some holes to fill there, but one thing I will give him a lot of credit for is Marcus Freeman is a remarkable head coach, especially for how young he is, but he has that old school mentality, man. He is no nonsense type of guy, or as Tom likes to describe him, I believe it's a meat and potatoes guy. And what does he have as well? He has a defensive background. He knows how to coach defense. So even though I think Notre Dame's biggest question mark is probably their secondary, I think with a guy like Marcus Freeman, they'll be just fine in that regard. And in general, I think Notre Dame has less question marks than Miami. I got to see what Carson Beck is going to do before I'm fully sold on how good or not Miami is. So you know what? I'm not saying this just to make Tom feel good. Believe me, if you ask him, I troll Notre Dame all the time. But I'm picking Notre Dame to win this one. Man, give me Notre Dame 27-21.
Ooh, some great analysis from the boys
Oh
there.
boy.
And we can go ahead and just wrap this show up already. If we're going to have Noah making meat and potatoes references already, like
Yep.
we are just so cooked. We're so cooked. Tom, I hate to do this to you. I really hate to do this to you.
Do it.
Give me the Hurricanes. Give me the Hurricanes. Carson Beck is going to shock the world in week 1. And you can thank me when Notre Dame wins, Tom. I want you to thank me when Notre Dame wins, because if I would have picked them, the sweep, it's never good when this format of the show. It's never good when we're all on one side. So I will pick the Hurricanes. So that guarantees that Notre Dame wins. All right. Let's wrap this up, fellas. One thing we're going to do on the show, we're going to do it each week, and we're going to track it throughout the year. Our lock of the week. You better lock it up. So give me one pick from one game. It doesn't have to be a game we talked about. You have a pick, Tom, from this week that you're like, this is it. This is what I'm going with.
Question. So should we pick a good game, or should we pick just any game on the
Whatever you want, dude. I don't care if it's a good game. I don't care if it's fucking an FCS game.
All right.
Is it gonna be a winner? That's all I care about.
I'm going to ease into it with week 1, and I'm going to make Andy Hopper laugh a little bit. I'm going to go with the Hogs. I mean, I think Arkansas is going to beat the shit out of Alabama A&M or whoever they're playing this week.
That's the best part about week 1 is you got to navigate. You got some good matchups, but then you got a bunch of, like, Illinois is playing Western Illinois on Friday, and they're favored by 45.5. There's a lot of those games where you got to decide how many points are you comfortable laying. So he's going to go with the Hogs. Is it a spread? What's the spread?
Let's see. The spread for Arkansas and Alabama A&M. Oh God, I gotta pull this up here, fellas. Pardon me. Excuse me.
Oh no.
SEC. So Arkansas is unranked, by the way. Not picking a ranked team. There is no line out currently for this game on the app.
Just lay whatever it is. Whatever it is. The Hogs are going to win, and they're going to win by a lot.
Hogs are going to win by 4 touchdowns against Alabama.
All right, 4 tutties. Noah, did you have a pick over and under a game you were seeing? Anybody you think like there's no way they lose?
I just went outright. I'm too lazy to get in all the
I
spreads and
love it.
it's
I
when
love
I
the laziness is you're speaking to me right here, buddy.
but I do feel a little bit bad for this one because we were talking a bit earlier about this team and oh, what an amazing story they are. This kicker that, I
Oh
saw these
no.
videos on YouTube but I'm sorry, man. Hawaii every season basically wins 3 to 5 games, and I think
Uh-huh.
the Cinderella story is going to end here. They play Arizona this week, who I know did lose a lot, but they still have Noah Fafita. They're at home. Spread is, if you're interested, is I think 17.5 in favor of Arizona. It's at Arizona as well, so I hope they enjoyed that remarkable, thrilling 3-point win against Stanford, who let's be honest, not a top tier opponent either. I think
No.
they're going to be in for a rude awakening this week. Give me the Cats by 20 points.
Cats by 20. And yeah, I believe that's on the road. I believe it's in Arizona too. So Kauai can't even get the bump of being on the island. I might have to follow that one, Noah. I think you're just going to turn into my savant all year this year. Whatever you say, I'm just going to follow it. And then mine, I'm keeping it very simple for week 1. I am just rooting for points in what I think is going to be one of the best games. LSU Clemson over 57.5. It's a lot of points for week 1, but you have 2 quarterbacks that are really, really good. And I just want to see him put on a show. So you can get that over 57.5 minus 105 on FanDuel. We are recording this on Wednesday, so obviously that can change by Saturday, depending on when you are listening to this. But fellas, what a way to go to start us off. An absolute pleasure. We had some incredible analysis, some incredible moments already from week 1 of the Tailgate Committee. I'd like to remind you guys one more time, follow us on social media, Facebook and Instagram at the Tailgate Committee, on Twitter at the Tailgate.com, and we are on YouTube at the Tailgate Committee as well. Please like and subscribe. It will help us out more than you know. We're trying to build this thing up. And we're starting from scratch, starting from the bottom and trying to get up somewhere. For Tom Scavetta, for Noah Dibler, my name is Andy Hopper. This is the Tailgate Committee, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to week number 1 of the college football season. We're going to be following along with you all along, giving our hot takes, our analysis, and, just our, right here. We'll be here each week. Look out for us. Tailgate Committee is coming. Go grab some beers, go grab some burgers, go grab some dogs, whatever you like to tailgate with. We like to tailgate with as well. We'll be there. Week 1 of the college football season is here. This is the Tailgate Committee. Thank you and have a night, a day, whatever it is. Whenever you're watching this, we appreciate you. I don't know how to end this, so I'm going to end it right now. We're gone. We're out of here. Let's go.